Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Luminex. This is one of the three Lumina Group companies. We have Lumina Gold, we have Luminex Resources, and Strategic Resources. So what's in the portfolio right now? Well, we have the Condor project that we focus on. So we just raised $12.5 million, and that is for exclusively drilling at the Condor project. At Condor right now, we got about a 6.5 million ounce gold resource. Condor North is a gold-silver area of the property that we focused on for a PEA. So that's got about 3 million ounces of gold resources at it right now. So that PEA that came out, it was 3 open pits and 1 underground area. It was about a $400 million NPV at $1,600 gold, about 190,000 ounces a year of production for 12 years. Right now, we're drilling a new area that wasn't included in that resource or included in that mine plan called Cuyas West. It's an underground target that I'll talk more about. And we just started drilling Permetador, which is a satellite target about 3 kilometers away. Outside of Condor, we've taken a partnership approach for all our greenfields work. So to date, we've brought in about $44 million US since 2018 in work in the ground and payments to Luminex. Right now, our 2 existing partners are Anglo American, who just started drilling the Pegasus A property, which is a copper porphyry in central Ecuador. And we've got Jogmec, who's drilling our Arcadius property, and they'll probably do about 2,000 meters this year. Anglo American's looking at an initial 3,200 meter program. So we're the operator for the Jogmec property. Anglo is the operator for Pegasus. Right now, cap structure, we're sitting at about a $50 million market cap. 213 million shares outstanding, fully diluted. Ross Beatty is the largest shareholder at about 20% of the company. We have an Ecuadorian group of investors that holds just under 14%. Route 1 out of San Francisco holds 8%, and a collection of other funds hold 14%. So as I mentioned, we just completed a $12.5 million Canadian raise, so about $9 million US on the balance sheet right now. Some of you might have heard me earlier, but I will repeat myself. Ecuador has gotten better every year since we started there in 2014. Mining exports last year were $2.7 billion off a base of, call it, $300 million in 2018. Fruta del Norte is producing a phenomenal amount of gold now, up to 450,000 ounces a year. The Chinese are having a lot of success at Mirador, which is a 60,000 ton per day open pit copper gold porphyry area. So those 2 mines are making up the lion's share of those exports. Fraser Institute's ranked this now as 24th out of 84 globally. It's getting better pretty much every year since we moved into the country. There's a pipeline of projects here, 3 that are ready to construct, and the Lumina Group holds 2 in the next category in the PFS PEA category with our Cangrejos project and Condor, which we're talking about right now. So in country, we're one of the largest landholders. We've got about 100,000 hectares here. If you look in the center of the map there in green, you've got Pegasus A, Pegasus B. This is a truly massive land area. Anglo wanted an area that they could have district scale success in. For context, our Condor project, which hosts 6.5 million ounces, is approximately 1/6 the size, and our Cangrejos project, which hosts 20 million ounces, is approximately 10% the size of that land package. So Anglo has the expectation that they're going to find multiple deposits on that land package. The rest of our properties are really along trend with Mirador and Fruta del Norte in the southeast of the country and along the Peruvian border. So just zooming in on that area of the country and kind of giving you perspective top to bottom here, you've got Warintza at the top, which is a copper porphyry held by Solaris. Tarqui and Kimi you see below there in yellow. We own 100% of those. Tarqui, BHP drilled 7,000 meters with us as part of our partnership model. They had their best hole was about 220 meters from surface of, call it 0.3% copper. They drilled on about 1.5 kilometer centers, so they were just establishing, is it a BHP scale property? Unfortunately, it didn't look like it, but we do have quite a bit of interest on these properties right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're able to get another partner in to help us look at that. Then below that, you've got Fruta del Norte, then our Condor project, and then below that, you've got Lundin and Newcrest joint venture. So we're kind of boxed in north-south by Lundin Gold and Newcrest, who's obviously a large shareholder in Lundin Gold as well. Arcadius at the bottom there, that's our partnership with Jogmec. and Cascas, we own 100% of a prospective copper target. So just talking about Condor, when we acquired this in 2016, it had about 100,000 meters of drilling on it. A lot of that drilling had focused on a large porphyry in the center of the property. We now own 99% of the asset. That we increased that from 90% last year for no consideration, so that was quite a big win. Since we acquired it, we've probably spent approximately $50 million Canadian. So just looking at the deposits here, Condor North, you've got 3 open pits, Cuyas, Soledad, Enma, and then that camp deposit I was talking about. That's what went into the PEA. In the center there, you see Santa Barbara. That's a large porphyry. So we're not focused there right now and didn't include that in the PEA, but that has a 3.6 million ounce gold resource and about 400 million pounds of copper in it. So just talking Condor North now, we've discovered this new Cuyas West vein that you see running kind of perpendicular to the camp deposit there. And really the strategy of the company right now is to delineate that and add a second source of underground ore. So the old PEA, it was scoped at 25,000 tons per day. We'd like to see a much smaller footprint in the next iteration. So hopefully just drawing from these 2 underground sources and having something that's about 4,000, say, to 5,000 tons a day illustratively that we could take, half from Cuyas West and camp deposit to feed a mill there. This Permetador target that you see in the bottom right, we just started drilling there a couple weeks ago with the first hole, so we're excited about that as well. So Cuyas West, why does it matter? And these are the best results we've ever seen on the property. So the hole that was really impressive from our perspective was obviously hole number 5. It was 5 meters of, call it 30 grams per ton. Tim alluded to our press release today, but you'll see there's 5 meters of 14 grams per ton, and we had 3 meters of 40 grams per ton out today as well. So continuing to put up positive results at Cuyas West and really just systematically drilling it. So camp had about 40 holes into it to get to that inferred resource that went into the PEA. We're trying to do the same thing at Cuyas West here to get to an inferred resource by hopefully Q3 this year. And I think then people will really understand, that those 2 underground areas will be enough to really rescope the project and put out a higher IRR. So this is just kind of Cuyas West in a long section and shows you how we're systematically drilling it. Kind of in the center bottom there is hole 17 and 18 that I just referred to that got released today. I'd encourage everyone to take a look at that press release if they get a chance. So we'll keep testing this depth. We think we've got 350 meters of strike now, so that should be enough to get us in that zone that we're targeting to have a second underground deposit to feed a mill. Additionally to this, and we've already released these holes and we've stopped drilling at camp now, but we did do 5 extra holes at camp, and why those were important was we went back to our mine planners after the PEA IMC out of Tucson, and they recommended a drill program that would enhance the camp model. So we drilled 5 holes there, and as you can see, it's a very positive results. 5 meters of 15 grams per ton, 5 meters of 9 grams per ton. So these are all either incremental improvements in the block model and the grade, or just additional ounces outside of the block model entirely. So we do expect when we update the resource later this year to also add additional high-grade ounces to camp. So Condor North, Permetador, we've been talking about this for quite a few years, and it's exciting to finally be drilling it. It is a steep area, and frankly, it was tricky to drive access into, but we're there now, so we're pretty happy. The best results we've had in rock and soil samples here were kind of 39 grams per ton at surface, but a lot of rock samples between, say, 0.5 and 1.5. So what we think we've got here is another kind of open pit target that also has these rhyolite dikes in them. And the rhyolite dikes are important because they are what control the mineralization at camp and at Cuyas West. So as we drove access into here in road cuts, we could see those rhyolite dikes coming to surface. So we think there's the potential that there is some high-grade underground targets here, as well as the kind of obvious disseminated gold anomaly that we're seeing. So we should have results from this approximately 2 months from now. So this is the old PEA, and I'll talk through the highlights here, and it was an important step for us because a lot of people, when we found camp, didn't understand how that underground deposit would interact with the open pits there. So we wanted to show that there was an economic plan to put all those different deposits together. So the 190,000 ounces a year was good scale. $840 an ounce AISC, obviously pretty attractive operating costs. The challenge was because we had to build it so big at 25,000 tons per day, the 600 million of capital was a bit prohibitive. And obviously a 16% IRR at 1,600 was something we wanted to improve. So we think Cuyas West is well on its way to doing that. And when we rescope this, we'd like to see the CapEx down dramatically from these numbers. And I'd point out that camp, although it was only 10% of the actual feed for this PEA, was about a third of the production. So if we had 2 underground sources, you'd be looking at say call it 140 to 160,000 ounces a year out of 2 underground sources instead of 220,000 ounces a year with all of it together. So hopefully that's important context for people. So just going to Anglo now and these land packages, the agreement with Anglo is $57 million of spend, 7 million of that is cash payments, 50 is work in the ground by the end of 2024. They've just started drilling Pegasus A now. To date, they've spent about $18 million on the properties and paid us $3.4 million in cash payments. So on Pegasus A, and that's where they've spent most of their time, they've identified 8 porphyry targets there. Medusa is the most prospective and where our geologists had also focused before Anglo had taken over. And there's been some drilling there in the past that had returned kind of up to 0.6% copper. So on the next slide here, I'll show you it's a cross-section of Medusa A to A prime that you see in the north. So Anglo's going to work on that with one team, and then they've got a second team that's going to prioritize these other 7 targets and move them along to drilling. So the initial program is 3,200 meters here at Pegasus A. They're going after this bullseye magnetic target that you see in the top figure there, and in the bottom figure with the Z-TEM, you can see a pyrite halo. So it looks like a pretty classic porphyry intrusion. Our geologists are very confident that they're going to hit a porphyry, so it'll just be a question of what the grade is when they get into it, and we'll see what that looks like. So additionally, we also have a smaller joint venture with our Arcadius project in Jogmec. They're looking to spend $7 million to earn 70% in the project. Last year, they did about 2,500 meters of drilling. We expect them to do between 2,000 and 2,500 meters of drilling again this year. This is a copper moly target. So far, they've hit porphyry, but they have been lower grade copper results. So we're hoping that they can zone in on and find a higher grade area of this property. So, in summary, we have a PEA on Luminex that more than underpins the valuation of the company right now. We think we're going to dramatically improve that when we bring in Cuyas West and add ounces there that are high grade in nature. We've got these partnerships that we think will generate value. If Anglo were to hit, obviously, a large copper porphyry, it's going to be a game changer for the company. We have one of the largest land packages in Ecuador, and we get continual interest for partnerships, so we do think we'll be able to bring in other partnerships here in the future to de-risk those greenfield properties. Lastly, you've got a management team that really has a track record of de-risking and finding these things. And, this was a spin out of Lumina Gold. Obviously, the team's been able to take that to 20 million ounces now. This is the next pipeline of projects for the group and the company, and management's really focused on making this work.